Yes, go ahead.
So it is 6:45, and we have returned from executive session.
Hold on just 1 second. Okay, there you go.
So it is 6:45, and we have returned for executive session. We had one extension or two extensions? One extension. No action is being taken as the result of the executive session, and no action was taken during the executive session. So that brings us to item number 8 this evening, which is our action items. Our first action item is our consent agenda for this evening, consisting of the draft city council meeting minutes for the August 2023 regular meeting, the August 2023 payroll, the August 2023 treasurer's report, the August 2023 claims, and the Fire Prevention Week proclamation for October for the city of Millwood, which you have in your packets. And that part of the action item is because we are not going to meet before Fire Prevention Week, we meet the week after. Approving this would allow me to sign the proclamation, and we would get it out during the regular week. So, does anybody on the council wish to take any of those action items separately this evening? Not seeing or hearing any. So do I have a motion on tonight's consent agenda as presented?
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion from the council? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed, the consent agenda is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll get that signed. And that brings us to item number 8B, award of a contract to Vertical Options for a new elevator. That will be Debbie.
Yes, so we decided to go off the Small Works roster, and there was one elevator company on there. So we received a proposal. It's should be in your packet. If you have any questions about anything regarding technical or anything like that, I'll refer you to Kyle. I don't know that kind of stuff. So it does come in under budget at $77,000.
So, Mr. Shiwi, do you have any comments on, I'll get it right as I'm done. Any comments on, or anything for the council on elevator and what it's gonna look like, anything like that?
So I mean, they call it an elevator. It's actually another wheel lift, but it's set up more like an elevator. It's got, same kind of function as an elevator. It's got one actuated door instead of that mess we got down there that is hard for a fully capable person to use. And so it should be a lot more user friendly and get actually used for its intended purpose.
Question?
And why are we doing this?
For ADA compliance. Yes, we are,
Compliance because of the doorway.
yeah, and we've got some other things that we're gonna have to do for entrance. Generally, that one man door in is narrow as is, and so that becomes difficult at best to get into the lift. And so, so this will get us into ADA compliance. It's also that porch lift is extremely old, frightening to individuals. I think the last person I ever saw regularly use that was Glenn Bailey back in the day. He was the last guy who used that. So delivery guys don't even like to use that. They'd rather drag stuff up the stairs than take our fantastical elevator. So any other questions for Kyle? Any questions for Debbie? Because this is exceeds the limit of what I can approve, I would request that the council take action on the award of the contract for the new elevator to Vertical Options.
And Debbie, you said it was under budget.
Yes, so the amount that we have budgeted is $100,000. We're hoping to do the alterations to the shaft with the other portions, so.
I'll make a motion to award the contract for the, what do you call that, Kyle? Not an elevator, but a
That's a wheel lift.
wheel lift to
That's right.
Vertical Options.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed, we will get Vertical Options on it and get ourselves a new wheel lift. Thank you very much. So this brings us to item number 8C, which is the request for approval of an expenditure increase for asphalt patching. I'll let Debbie start with this, and then Kyle can answer questions.
Originally, we had 20,000 budgeted for asphalt patching throughout the city. Turns out there's a lot more patching that needs to be done than we thought. We prioritized, and if we can increase the expenditure now, we can get on this schedule and get it done this year. It's an increase of $15,000.
And we have those funds currently available. It's probably best to do it now.
Yes, and then it'll come back to you in the final budget amendment, but I need approval now for the expenditure.
Any questions? Any questions for Kyle? What are we patching?
So it's going to be southbound lanes at the bridge where the asphalt kind of wads up. We've actually already had one insurance issue, I believe, with a vehicle scraping there last year, I think it was.
Yeah, we weren't liable, but yeah, it does come up there.
And lots of other complaints. And then southbound lanes at Trent where the asphalt meets the concrete, all three of those lanes are horrendous. And then there's a storm sewer drain right in front of the childcare place. That one has been an issue in years past. Cars run over it and that cast iron grate gets loose and it starts rocking back and forth and popping the asphalt out around it. So we're gonna make an adjustment to that, bring it up a little bit so it's not such a dip, and repave a large section around there, cause that's just putting cold mix around it, it's just a Band-Aid. And then also the same thing on this side by the dentist office on the far east shoulder. Same kind of scenario, it's really deep and needs to be brought up to grade a little bit and an actual legit patch put around it. And then the last one will be on Empire, right as the trucks and stuff turn into the Inland Empire Paper Company. We've put a considerable amount of cold mix in that and it needs a decent patch in there. So I figured those were kind of the most severe ones we had around town and address those now. And some of the ones farther down on the list that you guys got in the packet, we can, like the Liberty ones, we can Band-Aid those through this winter and hopefully revisit them in the spring of next year.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion on increasing the expenditure for asphalt paving?
I make a motion to approve the increase expenditure from 20 to 35,000 for street repair.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes.
Carl, but looking at the asphalt, the paper mill thing puts us over 35,000. 14, just 25, 35, it's gonna be higher than.
Is the number,
Are we just doing the three?
decide on the 3? I thought it was items 1 through 4.
It looks like 1 through 4 in the agenda packet.
Let me see.
Total prices.
Should we raise it higher to get those 4?
Yeah, let me see.
Good idea.
If money's
Well,
available.
it's only gonna give us a bulk ticket.
We should say 25,000 on the elevator.
Sorry. So 14,
So can I get a,
just over, it would be just over 30.
Do you wanna?
35, yeah.
40,000.
so council would need to make a motion to adjust the expenditure amount to $40,000, so an additional 20,000.
I make a motion to extend the expenditure amount to 40,000.
There you go.
Okay, so actually raise it, just make it to raise it by $5,000. Because we still have a
To raise it $5,000.
And I'll second.
moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Hearing none opposed, we have amended the motion that is currently on the table, which is approving the expenditure increase, but we have adjusted the expenditure increase from $35,000 to $40,000 based on the previous motion. So with that on the table, are there any further questions on authorizing the increase in expenditures? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor of the 40,000?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none opposed, the expenditure authorization is approved. The increase in expenditure is approved. Thank you.
That was impressive, Kevin.
Got to back it out. It's just like a giant do loop. All right. So that brings us to item number 8D, which is consideration of the sale of refreshments or merchandise in Millwood City Park per Millwood Municipal Code 1208-150. So we have received a special event permit request for the Brewfest. What is it? Hop Fest is what we had last year. Mr. Shiwi reviewed that, and you approved that or approved that with conditions?
Yeah, the main issue I have with that or any event of that magnitude is just the gross vehicle weight on the grass. We already are having issues with some of the other things going on in there. Like breaking sprinkler lines and, you know, we had that couple weeks ago with all that rain we had back to back. And then we had the farmer's market in there and we got some rutting and some messes to fix. And any of these larger events, you know, that need porta potties and stuff, they got these big heavy trucks that, you know, I suggested taking them in there on a hand cart, which would probably work going in, might be a little messy going out, but
So,
that's my main concern is that.
so did you make those conditions as part of the approval?
I haven't yet, no.
Are you going to?
Yeah,
Okay, so but you are looking at approving it with some conditions.
absolutely.
Okay, so he's reviewed it, it's gonna get approved with conditions, we're not denying it, but because it is a sale, they are requesting to be able to sell as per the code, council must approve the sale of items in concert with an event in the park. So we are asking for you to approve the Hops Festival to sell items in the Millwood Park, or consider approval of selling items in the park.
And are said items the beer?
The beer. The beer. And there may be swag, I don't know, there may be hats and stuff like that, hard to say, but it's mostly the beer. Any other questions? Do I have a motion on 8D as presented?
I move to approve ADs as presented for the Hops Fest engaging in commerce in the park.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, the Hops Festival has been approved for sale of refreshments in the city park. Thank you. So that brings us to item 8E, which is the Grace Waterline Replacement Task Order 23, which our engineers covered. Matt, do you have any other comments on this task order?
Any questions?
Questions for Matt? Pretty thorough presentation. Not hearing any questions, do I have a motion on approval of task order 2301 for Millwood Grace Waterline replacement as presented?
I make a motion to approve the Grace Waterline Replacement Task Order 2301.
There a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing or seeing none opposed, the waterline replacement is approved. The task order is approved. Thank you very much. So that brings us to item number 8F, which is the Spokane Regional Authority for the Homelessness, housing, health, and safety, and that's me. We did receive a comment. It is my intent to address that comment tonight, and I will have a brief presentation on this. I was attended last Friday the Regional Council of Governments meeting for Spokane County down at the fairgrounds, and we received a presentation on what is being called the regional authority, the Spokane Regional Authority for Homelessness, Housing, Health, and Safety. Currently, you will see in this area a recital and an interlocal agreement. A number of the small cities and the county have accepted and signed on to this interlocal agreement that talks about development of a regional authority. By development of a regional authority, what that means is it's all still in the planning stages. So it's talking about the very beginning of formulating some type of regional authority. And regional authorities in the county exist not really at all. The closest thing we've come to regional authorities are places where we have boards that have either elected members plus citizens, like the Board of Health and SRTC, or we have some of that on the air board too. But we don't have a true regional authority like a public development authority or anything like that in the county. So this is a new animal for the county. What you would notice is that I did not include in that discussion the city of Spokane or the city of Spokane Valley. Both of those entities still at this time have not agreed to sign on to this interlocal agreement to work on developing a regional authority. They are considering it. They have their own issues that they have to work through. They're still in a talking point. The main issues that are in front of individuals who would sign, entities who would sign into this agreement are, what does the governance body look like? What does the, if you would, the board who would be administering this regional authority, what does that look like? And then if that can even be agreed on, what does the funding sources or mechanism for this look like? So this interlocal agreement and the whole thing, what is in front of you tonight, is getting a seat at the table with this group to be part of the initial discussions as to what the authority, what the governance board would look like and what the funding mechanism would look like. I think we have discussed, council has discussed in the past, that there is an interest in this body and in the city to be engaged in homelessness services. This has the potential to be the locus for homelessness services within Spokane County. We don't know if we're gonna get there. And by we, I mean, generally we're not part of this in any way yet. Or we're not part of this in any way. But this looks like the best opportunity other than entities going it alone. The small cities, I can tell you, Airway Heights, Liberty Lake, Medical Lake, Cheney, they understand that a lift for them to provide wraparound homeless services. And that means housing, that means mental health counseling or some sort of mental health access, mental health services access, some sort of access to substance abuse, diversion, things like that, and some sort of access to domestic violence services, because those are the three biggest causes of homelessness: mental health, substance abuse, domestic violence. That without those, just giving people homes doesn't address homelessness. So the small cities can't make that lift on their own. it remains to, the county is very interested also in engaging in that dialogue, because the county being so disparate and spread out, they need to have better options for what they have for mental health services, or homeless services. We're still waiting for Spokane and City of Spokane Valley to decide what they are going to do. But if we as Millwood want to be part of the discussion, part of the participation in what does the governance board of a regional authority look like, and what does the funding source of a regional body look like, then I would ask you to consider entering into this interlocal agreement to work on establishing this. At the end of the day, it might not come to anything, but if it does come to something and we're not at the table, then we're not at the table and we're gonna come in later. And there's been times that we have not been at the table and Millwood doesn't get something. We get what is given to us as opposed to being there saying and having a voice heard. For us, given where we are, I would urge you to consider that it's probably critical that we participate in some way or another, because if we're not part of this regional authority, we would more than likely be looking to City of Spokane Valley. And I can say that their scale of services is nowhere near where the scale of services provided by City of Spokane is, for better or for worse. We're not gonna talk about track, we're not gonna talk about any of those sorts of things. But Valley is literally kind of in the same boat we are right now for homeless services. We're just as good as they are. What I would ask for the council tonight is there a desire for the council for myself to go back, because obviously we are not included in this interlocal agreement. And there was also in here a resolution that you might see, a draft resolution in support of advancing a regional homeless authority, behavioral health, affordable housing, all that. What I would ask is that if there is an interest, I would then work with this group to adjust the interlocal agreement, and at the next meeting, provide to the council the interlocal agreement, and it would probably be two parts. One would be accept or consider the interlocal agreement adjusted for Millwood as presented, and consider passage of a resolution in support of a regional homeless authority. If there's no interest, then I'll just let it go. Not asking anybody to sign anything tonight. We're not asking anyone, that'll give people full vet of comments. But I don't want to do a bunch of work here if there's no desire to do the work. Question?
Yes, so on the interlocal agreement that you're hoping that you had mentioned that was like more of a discovery phase. It says right on here that it's a charter development. Would there be a coming back to us once we all understand what this entity wants to be, to say, hey, should we actually participate in this in earnest?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Then by entering into this local agreement, this in no way obligates us, thank you very much. Words are just rattling around in there. Obligates us to further participation once we figure out exactly what it looks like. The comments in the comment in the letter, or the comment that the gentleman wished to make about who was gonna be on the board and things like that, we don't get a say about that unless we are actually participating in the consortium. If we're not participating in a consortium, we don't have anything to say about it. So, other questions for me on this?
I have questions about some of the information I saw, but you're not asking that yet.
Right.
But I'd like to have that opportunity to,
So what I would,
after we decide if we're gonna participate, have you participate, then I have a couple of items that I'd like to bring up.
so what I could do is, there's also gonna be more, information coming from, I got too many county people. Who are the folks that are doing,
Three.
yeah,
Teresa Sanders, Gavin
Cooley,
and Rick Romero.
Rick Romero. Rick Romero came out last week, and I think if to meet with me on this, I think that it would be very easy to get Mr. Romero or Mr. Cooley to come out and talk to the city council about, you know, your concerns, general things like that. Do a presentation on that if you want to go forward. Those folks are busy, and I don't want to engage them unless there's a desire to engage.
Well, I'll also say this, if we do go it on our own, we, as Millwood, there are resources out there. But the community development block grants, we are not eligible for that money, whereas the county is. So that's another positive step. Throwing in with the county is that they can apply for federal grants.
I think it's best to get it on the ground floor.
That's it. So I'll make a motion that direct the mayor to get Millwood involved in the Housing and Homeless Authority.
I second that.
Moved and seconded. As I said, I will, based on this, if this is approved, I will reach back out to the group, to Mr. Cooley and Mr. Romero and Ms. Sanders, and adjust this interlocal agreement, and then ask them to attend our next council meeting. What would come at the next council meeting for consideration would be signatory of the interlocal agreement, adding Millwood to the interlocal agreement, and then a separate resolution in the form that is included in the packet, which is the draft resolution that you see here. So those two items, if this is approved, that would be on the next agenda.
And with the understanding that this is just for the development phase, we would
Yes.
be approached again.
Yes, and we'll make that clear at the next meeting. They'll do a far better job of laying it out than I will. So we have a motion and a second. All those any discussion by council first? All those in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, I will go forth and bring something back to council and people. I will bring people and things back to council at the next meeting. So that concludes our action items for this evening. That brings us to our reports. First up is our treasurer, acting city clerk, and code enforcement, Ms. Mackin.
Oh, boy. First up, this is what I hope is an attainable budget schedule, outlining everything. I'm trying not to have a special meeting this year. Let's try it. So,
That's
Go November.
so I need everybody here so that we can have the public hearings and pass the budget. I'm gonna print this out for you guys, so you can take it with you and mount it on your refrigerator, okay? From the clerk side, we're Lisa and I are a little bit buried right now. We went from a 4-person office to a 2-person, and we're trying to do everything. But as stated, we've had a special event permit, we're trying to pass things along to the new contract planner. We're following up on some code enforcement things, including, then payroll, bills, budgeting, just the little things. So-
learning IT.
Learning
yeah.
IT, yeah. We're doing our best. I think that's all I have. I'm not gonna go deep into anything tonight. Just please be here the next 3 months.
Any questions for our acting everything? Thank you very much. So that brings us to facilities report, Mr. Shiwi.
A few of the main topics we got going on was we got all the storm sewers and stuff I believe I talked about last month getting addressed. We got those cleaned out. Getting ready for the rainy season. did a complete sweep of the streets to get the last round of tree debris off them, and I was all prepped for Millwood Days and everything. Data Pro was out and they got the server and all those components relocated inside that lockable, secure, cooled server room, so everything can stay happy. They're currently putting in the flooring down there in our office and in that whole area. Today we were installing some new bollards to protect the AC unit that's for that mini split for the server room, so nobody drives into it or something, you know, while they're parking. And my main goals to finish out the year is just to get the concrete trip abatement thing moving forward, the asphalt patching on the elevator project, try to get some stuff wrapped up before the end of the year.
Questions for Kyle? Thank you, Kyle. Mr. Erdahl, utilities report.
Okay, one of our water samples came back with total coliform this month. But we had to do repeat samples at that site, upstream, downstream, and the source, which was New Park Well, and those all came back good, so everything's fine there. We installed a new 12-inch flow meter coming out of the booster station, because that wasn't working. See how much water we're pumping out of there. We got a ditch dug for the new gas line from the generator, or New Park Well to the generator. And Vista's got the meter put in there, so we're just waiting for the electrician or the plumbers to plumb that in. So we're on the list for that. Bartlett Tree Service removed some of the trees up at Butler, so we have more room for storage and all that stuff. We lost all that with the trail. And I ordered a new backup sewer pump for the lift station. We got that on hand.
Questions for Matt? Mr. Sander?
Last month you talked about sewer line inspections. Are they completed, and what did they find for sewer line?
Nothing.
Nope.
They just make sure they didn't bore through.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were,
Yeah, they were all clean.
Good.
I think pretty quick and easy, just
Yeah.
put a camera down there and make sure
Yeah.
everything's good.
It's always good not to have a gas line in your sewer line.
it's good not to have any tree roots getting in the way either.
Any other questions for Matt? Thank you. So, next is planning, which is with our contract planner, Amanda Tanio. Ms. Tanio, I'd like to introduce you to our city council, and she has a report for us tonight.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Amanda Tanio, and I am your new contract city planner. I'll start off with just a quick intro about myself. I've been a planner for over 20 years. The majority of my time was spent as a city planner for the city of Liberty Lake. Started there right after incorporation and saw from the beginning of the comp plan development all the way through to development regs and so on and so on. Prior to that, I actually served as a City of Cheney planning commissioner with Tom Richardson, who was the director at the time. And now I've gone into private consultation. I work on both the public and the private sides of the table, and I'm happy to be your new planner. For the reports, we had on August 30th, the Planning Commission approved a special sign permit for North 40 for their electronic changeable message sign. The applicant voluntarily committed to putting in a basically a brightness control, which is a pretty standard practice for Dancon, the sign manufacturer, and it's very similar to the requirements we had in Liberty Lake. So I think that'll be a good addition over there. We have actually had a lot of activity in the past few weeks. I think Christina's hazing me, or somebody reference that. We've had a lot of sign permit reviews. We've had residential additions, residential accessory structures, as well as I just attended a commercial pre-application conference today for a new cafe that is being proposed at the old Tesoro location. That one's anticipated to come in for application this fall, October, November timeframe, with construction to begin in the spring. I have also attended the most recent Planning Technical Advisory Committee meeting for the Spokane County Steering Committee of Elected Officials. As you know, Mayor Freeman is the chair on that, and so I'll be representing Millwood in that board, and we're meeting approximately every couple weeks bi-monthly and working through a directive from the elected officials. To finish up, I'm just getting settled, accustomed to the Millwood Municipal Code. And I just want to give a special thanks to Denise, who of course is not here tonight, Deb and Lisa for all their assistance in getting me set up and helping with any questions I have that arise on Millwood policies, etc. Is there any questions for me?
Questions for Amanda?
No, great.
Appreciate you being here. Thank you very much and doing a great job. Thank you. So that brings us to our legal report, Mr. Worst.
One matter to report, the pending litigation involving the LUPA action. You'll recall that, unclear why, but plaintiff's counsel named a number of individuals that were interested parties or commented or provided written comment or participated in the administrative process. As I told the council, that we didn't believe that that was necessary or appropriate for that action to proceed. City of Millwood's the defendant in that action. Jeff Galloway, who is taking the lead on the litigation, and plaintiff's counsel stipulated to the dismissal of all of those individuals. So baby steps, but that was the first step in that litigation, was to just get the parties that aren't in interest as a named party out and put the litigation and it focused on the petitioner in the city. So
Any questions for Brian? Thank you, Brian. So mayor's report, went through, winding down my time on the, air board. And, that we'll know who will be the small cities replacement on the Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency folks here probably at the end of this month when they tabulate the ballot. Went to the Spokane Regional Council of Governments meeting last week as discussed. The two main topics were Measure 1, law and justice, the law and justice proposition, and the homeless consortium. There was also an update on the Oregon Road fire and the Gray fire presented there. I would make one comment about the law and justice for just additional, the Measure 1, just for additional consideration. It was discussed and Sheriff Knowles had a good presentation and answered a lot of questions there. But with the revisions, if you will remember the Blake decision that decriminalized drug use, and then there was the legislative fix to the Blake decision, which made certain substance abuses a gross misdemeanor. Felony convictions, cities, municipalities do not pay for prosecution and for housing at the jail. Gross misdemeanors, we do pay for. So if we, through contract, are enforcing gross misdemeanors, our legal costs, our law enforcement costs could go up. So some of that money that might come through that, we might necessarily need if we are having individuals for gross misdemeanor possession. So that's just something to consider when people are talking. There is a potential by previous legislation coming forward currently that those funds that would be delivered through this measure could actually be used to offset unanticipated costs that could be coming forward. I was able to talk to Sheriff for a little bit and have asked the treasurer for the upcoming budget to look at increasing the amount that we have set aside for law enforcement costs. Sheriff's had some really good luck in getting officers or deputies in and enrolled, and appears to be going forward, and there is a willingness on the sheriff's department to discuss providing 40-hour an FTE for City of Millwood. We had a back of the envelope discussion on what that would cost the city, the increase to the costs. I'm currently working with Debbie on that, so when we do bring the budget back, that will be in there for consideration. but it looks like we could go to a full 40-hour FTE that would allow us to, based on our heat map, our intelligence things, to schedule how we would like to have law enforcement patrol in the city. So we'll see as we go forward from there, but that was a positive conversation we had the opportunity for, and Sheriff Knowles is very interested in discussing that. So, lastly, middle of last month, Kyle received a request from a citizen up on Empire to look at a couple other options for traffic control on the Empire area. I've asked, Kyle brought it to me, I looked at it, needed smarter heads than that, so I asked Mr. Worst and Welch Comer to review the citizen's request, and it was a novel request, or is a novel request, and I'm waiting for some feedback from on kind of both with legality and actual concept on that. But we are looking at that. I know that in the budget coming up, we are looking at, and Welch Comer has looked at some traffic calming ideas up there, so we might have a couple of different options to look at. But I do think that given everything that's going on up there, when we come back with this budget, we should ask council, or I will be asking council to think specifically about looking at and potentially approving some traffic calming options for up there, but we'll bring that whole package back together. That's kind of it for now. Any questions for me on anything?
Do we get to know what the novel approach is?
It has to do with actively restricting access on Empire, through gating of Empire. That may or may not be legal to begin with. But we'll see from there. But we're having both the engineer and municipal attorney look at kind of what's being asked about that. Any other questions? Thank you very much. So item number 10 is your council information for no action or discussion, which is the July 2023 Sheriff's Report. Have that in there. And that brings us to item number 11, our public remarks. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the council either in person or by submitting their remarks to remarks@millwood.wa.us. We ask that in-person speakers limit themselves to 2 minutes and follow the citizens' participation guidelines policy as posted on the City of Millwood website. Do we have any written comments for public remarks or any written remarks tonight? So we have 3 folks signed up on the sheet, and first is Tom Topping. He left, okay. So, and it doesn't look like
The other one's not crossed out, it's back, it's good.
it's it. So next we have Darlene Rock.
Yes.
Ms. Rock.
My name's Darlene Rock, 2825 North Sargent Road. I'm here, I'd like to know if it's possible to get a no trucks allowed sign for the residential area by my house. I haven't seen any in the city limits, but I'm not sure that there aren't any out there. Grayson Sargent is kind of becoming a freeway for big trucks. I have Domino's, and it's getting worse. I've lived here 37 years and I'm getting more and more of them.
Please continue, sorry.
I talked to the girls and they told me to come to the meeting and plead my case, so it's kind of new for me, so whatever I need to do. That's pretty much it.
We can look at that. I'm not sure if we can limit local deliveries, like what you're talking about for Domino's. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I don't know if we can I don't know how we could do that. We'll ask staff here to look into it, but if they're a business in the city, I don't think we can really tell them that they can't bring their delivery trucks
I
in.
don't know, I mean, there are certain statutes that recognize certain limitations such as weight limitations, but that's only if it's gonna be damaging to the roadway.
Well, it's not the roadway that's getting damaged as much as my trees. And the trucks are tall enough, being 13.6 to 14 is the maximum they can go. And they're wiping out my maple trees in the front yard to the point where in the past, we have had to actually, in a manner, close down the road and get a chainsaw out to bring branches out of the road and put them into the back of my husband's pickup, because they've knocked down some major ones on it. Now, they're high enough that they're still catching them and they're still knocking them down. But it's almost an everyday occurrence, and with the kindergarten right there, I feel that there might be a safety issue as well with the kids, because they come by at all different times. The
What?
Coca-Cola trucks go straight down towards the high school, and there's no trees that way. But Domino's refuses to do that. My husband and I had talked to them, got up a ways in the chain of Domino's, and then they kind of dropped the ball, and I guess we did too, as well as not getting any further, because it was kind of beating our head against a wall.
I'll ask staff to, we can go out, look at the map and see what we're talking about, but we have to make sure that they can still make their corners and everything like that. So we will look into it.
Thank you very much.
I did have a street sign go down on that exact corner a couple weeks ago too.
Oh, got clipped. You think it got clipped? Okay. Next is LaDonna Dement.
Hello, LaDonna Dement, 10306 East Empire, and I just have some questions. I'm gonna get better at this and read some of this stuff prior to coming, but I just want to have a little questions for the Spokane Regional Authority of Homelessness. So, if we get on this, if we become a part of this, then what? So I understand it better. What does the city of Millwood get for that? I mean, financing to finance housing for homelessness, for maybe rehabilitation. I mean, all that kind of stuff. I just want to know a little bit more about it. Like why we would be part of that, why we want Millwood to be a part of that. I mean, what's the advantage to it?
The advantage of being part of the regional system is that a regional approach will probably be more cost effective for everyone and can provide better services through all of that. If we are not part of that, that means we will either have to contract, if we want to address homelessness, we will either have to contract with somebody who has homeless services, or we would have to create our own full wraparound homeless services. So we still have to, if we want to have enforcement for certain types of homelessness issues,
Okay.
we have to have the mechanism we have to have something there that if we enforce, we can send people to do. Send people to. So that would be one of the reasons why. It's just, with 1,800 folks, it's hard to generate up that. So a regional approach for us can make more sense. What it looks like at the end, I'll be honest, nobody knows. Because there has to be a coming together of the funding entities, so your municipalities, everybody who's got the public money, plus your private partners, your community partners, Catholic Charities, Salvation Army, Jewels, any of those that are operating that, and we don't know what that looks like yet, because we won't know that until nobody will know that until we can get past this first hurdle of who's all gonna be at the table and how is it gonna be funded? Because if it's all funded by City of Spokane, they may not wanna participate, but there goes the bulk of the money that is coming in on the public side.
Okay.
So I would say right now, there are still a lot of questions. There was a double-sided sheet of questions, double-sided 8.5 by 14 sheet of questions that was asked by a number of the other municipalities that was in 10-point that this group still has to answer before I think even either City of the Valley or City of Spokane is gonna consider coming in. So there's still a lot of questions.
Okay.
But that's kind of where we're at in this. I can't tell you.
Well, just the reason I'm asking, because I just thought once that we were committed, does that mean now if you're committed to be a part of this, that we have to bring in housing into the town of Millwood and things like that? Not saying that I don't want people to get help, because I do, but I
think-
don't want it to cause for us, a bigger, just bringing more homelessness to our city already, even though we're trying to help them, see what I'm trying to say?
What I would say is that looking at the way the courts have ruled, if you, as a municipality, wish to enforce things like no camping ordinances, sit-lie laws, things like that, you need to have someplace for these individuals to go. It can't be sandwiched in a roadmap.
Right.
It has to be something service-oriented for them. So if we participate in a regional coalition, we have the opportunity to say, here is our services. They're not located in Millwood because we're part of the region. We have transportation, the regional coalition, we have transportation, we have a place for you to go, we have services that are there.
Okay.
And they're housed there. Otherwise, if we kind of go the way of the valley, which is where, or hopefully they will possibly change, but they look at being very insular, they're gonna have to develop all that stuff. And they may not think they're gonna have to, but one day a judge will tell them that they have to do that.
Okay. I was just curious. Thank you.
You're welcome. So any other comments? Second call for public comments. Third and final call for public comments, looking at Shereen. Anything?
Oh, there's always something. We're, this coming weekend, sorry, I'll do that. Shereen Young at 8903 East Liberty. This coming weekend, we have a work session on both Saturday and Sunday at the Pumpkin Patch Community Garden. So excited for anyone that would want to come out for an hour, 2 hours, what have you. Excited for that. And then also, we do have 3 candidates that are coming up for election here in November. And we have a League of Women Voters group that's going to be sponsoring a session for the candidates, so we're inviting anybody and everybody out to come and meet them. So it'll be a nice meet and greet. We're gonna even have cookies, so.
Who's gonna be there?
The
League of Women
Voters, the candidates are Sean Kohler, Andy Van Hees, and Kelly Stravens. Yes, thank you for asking. That's October 2nd.
So are there tomatoes at the pumpkin patch?
And by then they'd be rotten, so.
They don't hurt as much.
Thanks, Shereen. Any other comments? Second call. Third and final call. Seeing none, we will close our public remarks section. Council remarks, Mr. Stravens,
No comments tonight.
Mr. Sander.
Well, two, from the STA, during the Medical Lake fire, the request went out for bus transport, and STA answered. They got a number of buses out there to haul people out to the first shelter, and then from the first shelter to the second shelter, but they were able to provide a needed service out there. Also, we're just beginning to look at the next 10-year strategic plan of what we need to be doing, where we want to be going. So that we're just getting started on that effort. And part of that is they, just like a number of organizations, we have a piece of this, STA has a little piece of the sales tax. That is a major issue, a major piece of the funding to keep the buses running. So we're trying to figure out just getting going, looking at the next 10 years and what kind of things we're gonna be doing. Hope to do.
Thank you, Mr. Sander. Mr. Van Hees?
I don't have much, but with that, the homeless regional, I would like to be part of that. So, I don't know what part I'd like to be a part of. Who knows if there's gonna be
Yeah.
an area for me.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
There's always a cold corner you can put me in.
Mr. Knowles has nice things to say. Sheriff has nice things to say about
Well,
you.
he's a nice guy. When I was younger, we weren't such good friends, but now we kinda did.
More to this story.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Mr. Culler, any comments? Let's just get away.
Well, if Andy wants to sit on a seat, the Spokane Housing and Community Development Advisory Committee has an open spot for us. Cause Kate was on that board
Ah,
when she resigned.
Put me on.
Okay.
all right.
I was gonna bring it up because that's the federal money that the homeless authority could actually, put bids out for or grant requests. Whereas Millwood we don't qualify because we're basically too small and some other qualifying limits we don't meet.
Well, big and loud a lot of times.
It'll fit right in.
Yeah.
Al's not on there. is
No, it's run by Tim Crowley, I think, out of county.
he? Okay. Well, yeah, if Andy, if you want to do that, that would be great.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Okay. Anything else? Ms. Vesey?
I want to thank Lisa and Deb for picking up the work of 4 people, so thank you so much. I hope for a graceful transition to whatever is the permanent fix.
So do we.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, so Mr. Wurst.
Yeah, real quickly, and I'm gonna piggyback off what you said and give Lisa credit on this. As we were just listening to the candidate forum coming up, you'll have a quorum there. But we were just bannering, that will, in your campaigning capacity, you're not conducting official city business, so we're not gonna note it up as a special meeting. Don't go making decisions, don't go doing official city business, but,
Just keep it at small talk.
no, credit Lisa on that thought. I was checking TikTok or something. I don't know what I was doing. I wasn't checking TikTok, by the way, but that's, appreciate you raising that. But we're not gonna note that as a special meeting.
So Shireen was kind enough to do part of the announcements. Do we have any other announcements? Pool is closed?
Yes, sir.
Anything else closed? Anything else we're looking at?
Farmers market still going.
And will be. With no other announcements, we will set our next meeting for Tuesday, October 10th at 6 p.m. Please remember that this is budget season. You must be there. So next 3 meetings, clear your calendars. We need to be there. So yes, I will make that again. So we will see all 5 of you present at the next one. And so with that, that concludes our agenda for tonight. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.